Hello everyone, this is Shauna with Love Meets Cake and I'm coming back with another video. Another hobby that I have is acrylic painting, and I thought, how about I do a cake replica of a painting that I did a couple of years ago. Alright, let's get started. So for this cake, I'm using a 3-layer 7-inch cake. And you can actually use any size cake as long as it's at least 3 layers so that it gives you the height that you need. And here's the buttercream that I made. So for this, make sure that you have a cake leveler, a spatula. The icing colors that I used for this is going to be purple, pink, yellow. Of course, you can use any colors that you want to use. And then I'm going to use a little bit of orange too. And then for the hair, I'm going to use black and brown. For the hair, we're also going to use a 1M piping tip, but you can also use a 2D piping tip. And then a pack of Wilton white fondant. Some gold bling bling for the borders, which is optional. I love bling bling though. And then for me, I actually use Crisco to roll out my fondant, but I know other people may use cornstarch. I don't like cornstarch. That's just my preference. And then make sure you have a small fondant rolling pin, a small cutter, a food safe paintbrush, a bench scraper to smooth out the icing. And then because I'm lazy and I don't feel like making a crown, I buy my princess crowns, but if you want to make your crown, you can. And then a little bit of gold mist spray. And if you have some cake glitter, you can use that too. Alright, so first, before I put my cakes down, I put down a little bit of icing so that the cake will stick to the board when we're icing it. Now, just because this is a demo cake, I wanted to use the icing that I had on hand, and it actually was like a light strawberry icing. So if you see little speckles of like strawberry skin, strawberry flesh, that's what it is. It's strawberries. And so what I'm doing is just filling in each layer with the icing, and then I'm going to do a crumb coat. If you are not familiar with a crumb coat, that is a thin layer of icing that you use to ice the cake first, so that the crumbs on the cake get trapped in that first thin layer before you put on the final coating. Now with your crumb coat, remember, make sure that you are scraping the excess icing off to a different bowl. You're not putting that into the bowl where you're going to be using the final icing, because you don't want to end up getting any crumbs in that final icing. So make sure whatever icing you're scraping off, you're putting that somewhere else and not back into your original bowl of icing. And then what I like to do is take a paper towel with my bench scraper and then go around the borders in order to clean up those edges. And then once I have my crumb coat on, I will put that in the refrigerator or the freezer. There's a weird angle of it in the refrigerator. But keep it in the refrigerator for at least 10-15 minutes so it can get firm. Now in the meantime, while it's in the fridge getting firm, I'm going to start coloring the icing that I'm going to use. And like I said, I'm using purple, pink, and yellow, but have fun and use any colors. Matter of fact, when I do this cake again, I'm going to use some different colors and just have some more fun with it. So in one bowl, I'm going to put purple. and pink in the next one. Now with this particular pink, I didn't want it to be a hot pink. I wanted it to be somewhat of like a sunset pink. So what I ended up doing was getting a little bit of red and then mixing that into the pink. So sometimes you just have to play around with color mixing in order to get the color that you're looking for. And then I also took a little bit of my purple icing. I put just a little bit of purple icing in that as well. So as you can see, I kind of got like a muted pink color. And then for my yellow, I wanted a golden yellow. So even though this says golden yellow, what I did was mix some of that golden yellow and then I added a little bit of orange to it as well because I wanted a deep golden yellow. So just feel free to play around with your colors until you get the desired color that you're looking for. And then what I'm going to do with my crown is I'm going to pluck off those little cone pieces. And by the way, these little crowns you can actually get at the dollar store, Walmart, Party City. Your cake supply store has pre-made princess crowns. And then what I like to do is actually take some of my cake gold, my gold highlighter dust, and then I mix a little bit of alcohol in with it so I can turn it into a paint. And then what I like to do is actually paint it gold. If you actually have the Wilton gold spray, I will say one time I did try to spray it gold, and I didn't really get the outcome I was looking for, so I prefer to just paint it gold. Or like I said, if you want to hand make your own crown, you are free to do that too. I just hate making crowns. Alright, so I took the cake out the fridge, and as you can see, it's firm. So I'm going to start at the base of the cake. So this cake is going to have 3 colors. I'm putting the golden yellow at the bottom with the spatula, and I'm going all the way around. And for this, I don't want to have perfect lines because I want the colors to blend in with each other. So then next, I'm going to go ahead and put my next color right on top of that. And then I'll put on my last color, and I'll start with putting it on the top. And then getting the top part of the cake. Now what I'm doing here is showing you how I made a lip where I brought the icing up above the cake. So on the purple, see how there is a rim of icing going around the top? That is going to be how you achieve your smooth corners on the top of the cake. And I will show you how you do that. So the next thing we're going to do is take our bench scraper, and I didn't want to show, I didn't actually want to move my camera angle, so I'm not showing you on this part. But what I'm doing is running hot water, and I'm running the bench scraper under the hot water. And then I'm taking it, and then I am pressing it slightly up against the cake. So what it's doing is smoothing out your cake, and the heat is actually smoothing out that icing. And so what I do is I just keep turning the cake round and round until I get it completely smooth. And each time what I'm doing is taking the bench scraper and then running it back under that hot water. So as you can see, we got a pretty nice sky effect with the icing there. And then I'm taking the napkin under the bench scraper, and then I'm just running it along the base of the cake so we can get that icing up and clean up that border. And then now what we're going to do next is we have the lip, the icing lip, and then I'm going to take my spatula and I'm going to start from the outside and then push it into the center. So outside in, outside in. So see how I cleaned up the top of the cake that way? So that's the easiest way to achieve that. And then what I'm doing is running that spatula under the hot water too, so you can see how the heat from the hot water is actually making the top of the cake smooth. And there you go, perfectly smooth cake. Okay, so next I am going to take out the white fondant. And whatever skin tone you actually want to color this, so I'm going to take my brown, mix a little bit of the brown into the fondant. Now what I do, and like I said, other people do this differently, but I take a little bit of my shortening, I rub it on the table, and a little bit of the CMC powder or Tylose powder, and I pour a little bit in there in order to make the fondant just a little bit firm. And so I just knead the brown into the fondant, add a little bit more of the vegetable shortening to my hands and to the table so that the fondant is not sticking to the table or sticking to my hands. But there are a lot of bakers that actually like to use cornstarch. And it's just your preference on what you like to use. I don't like cornstarch. I've always used vegetable shortening, so I'm more comfortable with that. And then once you get the shade that you're looking for, go ahead and roll that out. I would say roll it out the size of a pancake. You don't want to roll it out too thin to where your fondant is going to start ripping when you try to cut it. Now, when I'm cutting the face, I am actually freehanding it. So it's hard for me to verbally explain how I'm doing it. All I can do is kind of show you it. At the very end of this video though, I did leave a note saying if you want to email me, and then you can PayPal me or Cash App me $1, and I'd be happy to email you the template if you want to use that in order to cut it out. But I am actually freehanding the face and the body. And the best way I can explain freehanding is what I do is cut out what I think it should look like and then I hold it up to the cake to see if it's a good size. So as you can see, I'm putting the head on it and I'm trying to see if it's if it's too big or too small, or if it's just right. So this right here is the neck and the shoulders, and then I'm putting the head on. I also like to take my fingers and then rub them along the edge in order to smooth it out once I cut it out too. And then I decided to use white for the dress. Now what I'm doing here is I'm not pressing it on all the way. I'm just lightly putting it on top so I can see the outline of the body, and then I'm lightly tracing how I want the dress to be. So I'm not cutting it all the way, I'm just doing a light trace. Alright, so you can see how I traced it there. And then I'm going to peel that off the body. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut that shape out. But like I said, at the end, you'll have my email if you want to email me. I will email you back the template that you can use in order to have that to trace and cut out yourself if you're not comfortable with freehanding it. But it is really easy. There you go. And then I'm making the lips. In order to get that shade for the lips, I used pink and purple. No, I used red and purple. I'm sorry. A little bit of red fondant, a little bit of purple fondant, mixed it together to get almost like a plumish color for the lips. And I'm freehanding the lips as well. And then I wanted to give her full puckered lips. And so what I'm doing is making like little caterpillar sized fondant shapes here. And like I said, the thing with freehanding is you really just have to play with it until it looks like how you want it to look. So don't adhere anything to the cake until you got it looking how you want it to look. Sometimes I'm like, okay, I made lips too big, let me make them a little bit smaller, or made them way too small, let me make them bigger. So you just have to play around with it. So you just keep cutting and adjusting it until you get them looking how you want them to look. Now you can make her lips closed, or with this cake I decided to have her lips parted just a little bit. So I took a little bit of white fondant and I cut out a small piece, and then I'm putting the lips on top of it so that way there's a little bit of white showing them in the middle of her lips like it's her teeth. And I'm taking that brush that I have and I'm putting just a little bit of water on there so that way it can stick. So there you go. I also have a little bit of pink luster dust, And what I'm doing is taking the brush and I am giving her some rosy cheeks. You can use like a dark pink or a red if you want to give her blushy cheeks. So once you feel like you have the body how you want it and the head, you can go ahead and put it on the cake. Now my icing was still soft and sticky, so I didn't have to use any water in order to stick that on there. Otherwise, if your cake already got firm, you may have to use a little bit of water in order to get it stuck on there. And then I'm going to take my 1M piping tip. I'm going to put that in my piping bag here. And remember, you can actually use a 1M. Sometimes I use a 2D because they're essentially the same thing. It's just that the 2D, the spokes are curved inward. So it gives you a little bit of a difference in the piping outcome, but they're still essentially the same thing, in my opinion. Now also, I didn't show this part, I forgot to show it. When I went to make the hair, I actually used some of my purple icing. So what I did was I took the black icing, I put some black food color and brown food color into the purple icing in order to get the hair. So just a FYI, when you're looking at her hair and you're thinking that's not all the way black, it's because I use purple, so her hair has a little bit of a purple hue to it. Alright, make sure you got your bag secured when you go to pipe it. And then I'm going to start piping from the corner of her neck and her shoulder. And it's best to actually do the outline of her hair first and then fill it in last. And then just make sure you're aware of how full you're making it. You want to make sure you give her a full afro and not like a narrow afro to where it looks like she has like a high top fade. And then you're just going to do little short squeezes. And then with this one, I didn't want any eyes showing, I didn't want any nose showing. So I am piping that hair so it looks like she has some bangs coming down. Now the way that you squeeze the piping bag, you're going to get different looks in the hair. When I'm squeezing it, it's hard to tell, but when I'm squeezing it, I'm doing a short little circle, if you can kind of see. See how I'm doing a little short circular motion? I actually really love the colors. I love how her hair has just a faint purple hue to it. But you can make her hair all the way brown if you want. You can make her hair all the way black if you want. So it's just whatever look you're going for. And once you have the hair piped on, you can put the crown on. And then I'm going to give her some earrings. So what I'm going to do is take some white fondant, and then I'm going to make it into a circle. So it looks like she has some hoop earrings there. And I'm going to take some of that gold paint that I still have, and then I'm going to paint the earrings gold. And I'm just going to stick those on right where her ears should be. Now what I did here is I took some of that Wilton Gold spray and I sprayed a light mist onto it. Now the thing is with that gold spray, do not spray it directly up on the cake. Hold it back about a foot and then spray it so you get a light sheen. And then I'm taking some of my cake gold glitter, and then I'm just sprinkling a little bit of cake gold on there too to give it a shimmery effect. And then also just add just a little bit more detail to it. I'm taking my gold paintbrush, and then I'm just making some little gold speckles along the side. There you go. There you go. I love how this turned out. I've done so many Afro Queen cakes. I actually had one that went viral a couple years ago, but I did that one way different. And then I've done a ton where it's just an edible image where I'm not even making the face myself. I'm just printing off an edible image of a face and putting it on there, which is really easy. But it's a lot funner to just freehand the face yourself, so it can look different each time. I just love those pouty lips. Look at those little lips. And then also I did take a edible black marker and I did outline where her shoulder should be, so if you want to do that, you can too. Give her a little bit of some cleavage there. I just love it. Look at the sparkly hair. Yes. Love, love, love. Thank you guys for watching, tuning in again. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. Let me know what you think. See you next time.